Perhaps in the places beyond the pastures where his sheep lived, men thought that the wind came from Andalusia, but actually the wind came from no place at all, nor did it go any place. That's why it's stronger than the desert. Someone might one day plant trees in the desert and even raise sheep there, but never would they harness the wind. "You can't be the wind," the wind said. "We're two very different things." "That's not true," the boy said. "I learned the alchemist's secrets in my travel. I have inside me the winds, the desert, the ocean, the stars, and everything created in the universe. We were all made by the same hand, and we have all the same soul. I want to be like you, able to reach every corner of the world, cross the seas, blow away the sands that cover my treasure, and carry the voice of the woman that I love." "I heard what you were talking about the other day with the alchemist," the wind said. "He said that everything has its own personal legend, but people can't turn themselves into the wind." "Just teach me to be the wind for a few moments," the boy said, "so you and I can talk about the limitless possibilities of people and the winds." The wind's curiosity was aroused, something that had never happened before. It wanted to talk about those things, but it didn't know how to turn a man into the wind. And look how many things the wind already knew how to do. It created deserts, sank ships, felled entire forests, and blew through cities filled with music and strange noises. It felt that it had no limits. Yet here was a boy saying that there were other things that the wind should be able to do. "This is what we call love," the boy said, seeing that the wind was close to granting what he requested. "When you are loved, you can do anything in creation. When you are loved, there's no need at all to understand what's happening, because everything happens within you, and even men can turn themselves into the wind, as long as the wind helps, of course." The wind was a proud being, and it was becoming irritated with what the boy was saying. It commenced to blow harder, raising the desert sands, but finally it had to recognise that even making its way around the world, it didn't know how to turn a man into the wind. And it knew nothing about love. In my travels around the world, I've often seen people speaking of love and looking towards the heavens, the wind said, furious at having to acknowledge its own limitations. Maybe it's better to ask the heavens. "Well then, help me do that," the boy said. "Fill this place with a sandstorm so strong that it blots out the sun. Then I can look to heaven without blinding myself." So the wind blew with all its strength, and the sky was filled with sand. So the wind blew with all its strength, and the sky was filled with sand. The sun was turned into a golden disk. At the camp, it was difficult to see anything. The men of the desert were already familiar with that wind. They called it simum, and it was worse than a storm at sea. Their horses cried out, and their weapons filled with sand. On the heights, one of the commanders turned to the chief and said, "Maybe we had better end this." They could barely see the boy any more. Their faces were covered with long blue cloths, and their eyes showed fear. "Let's stop this," another commander said. "I want to see the greatness of Allah," the chief said with respect. "I want to see how a man turns himself into the wind." But he made a mental note of the names of the two tribesmen who had expressed their fear. As soon as the wind stopped, he was going to remove them from their commands, because true men of the desert are not afraid. "The wind told me that you knew about love," the boy said to the sun. "If you know about love, you must also know about the soul of the world, because it's made of love. From where I am," the sun said, "I can see the soul of the world. It communicates with my soul, and together we cause the plants to grow and the sheep to seek out shade. From where I am, and I'm a long way from the earth, I learned how to love. I know that if I came even a little bit closer to the earth, everything there would die, and the soul of the world would no longer exist. So we contemplate each other, and we want each other, and I gave it life and warmth, and it gives me my reason for living. So you know about love, the boy said. And I know about the soul of the world, because we have talked at great length to one another during this endless trip around the universe. It tells me that its greatest problem is that, up until now, only the minerals and the vegetables understand that all things are one. That there's no need for iron to be the same as copper, or copper to be the same as gold. Each performs its own exact function as a unique being, and everything would be a symphony of peace if the hand that wrote all of this had stopped on the 5th day of creation. But there was a 6th day, the sun went on. You are wise, because you observe everything from a distance, the boy said, but you don't know about love. If there hadn't been a 6th day, man would not exist. Copper will always just be copper, and lead just lead. It's true that everything has its personal legend, but one day that personal legend will be realised. So if each thing has to transform itself into something better and to acquire a new personal legend until the soul of the world becomes one thing only. The sun thought about that and decided to shine more brightly. The wind, which was enjoying the conversation, started to blow with greater force so that the sun would not blind the boy. This is why alchemy exists, said the boy, so that everything will search for its treasure, find it, and then want to be better than it was in his former life. Lead will play its role until the world has no further need for lead, and then lead will have to turn itself into gold. That's what alchemists do. They show that when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. Well, why did you say that I don't know about love? The sun asked the boy. Because it's not love to be static like the desert, nor is it love to roam the world like the wind, and it's not love to see everything from a distance like you do. Love is the force that transforms and improves the soul of the world. When I first reached through to it, I thought the soul of the world was perfect. But later I could see that it was like other aspects of creation, and it had its own passions and wars. It is we who nourish the soul of the world, and the world we live in will either get better or worse, depending on whether we become better or worse. And that's where the power of love comes in. Because when we love, we always strive to become better than we are. So what do you want from me? The sun asked. I want you to help me turn myself into the wind, the boy answered. Nature knows me as the wisest being in creation, the sun said, but I don't know how to turn you into the wind. Then whom should I ask? The sun thought for a minute. The wind was listening closely and wanted to tell every corner of the world that the sun's wisdom had its limitations, that it was unable to deal with this boy who spoke the language of the world. Speak to the hand that wrote all, said the sun. The wind screamed with delight and blew harder than ever. The tents were being blown from their ties to the earth, and the animals were being freed from their tethers. On the cliff, the men clutched at each other as they sought to keep from being blown away. The boy turned to the hand that wrote all. As he did so, he sensed that the universe had fallen silent, and he decided not to speak.